Welcome to The Curiosity Solution. I'm your host, Beverly Beal. Join us as we explore the science of curiosity, share stories of people who've used curiosity to improve their lives, and maybe inspire some aha moments along the way. Welcome, Mandy. I'm so happy that you are able to join me on the podcast today. Um, so, Mandy and I connected very recently, as in just yesterday, and she and I had a brief interaction on Instagram. So, it's one of those beautiful things that where social media can actually be used for good and not evil. And Mandy is a Feng Shui consultant in Scotland. And being a Feng Shui consultant here in the US, I thought, let's find out how her journey brought her to this wonderful philosophy of organizing space and see how that all worked. And then she did not disappoint. So Mandy, why don't you just go ahead and share a little bit about what got you to Feng Shui? What is your current profession? What were you doing before this?
So hi Beverly, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so grateful to you for having me on. I am a Feng Shui consultant. It's all quite new to me. I have followed Feng Shui for over 20 years now, but only just started to delve a bit deeper last year, learn a bit more about it, and wanted to be able to do it for myself in my own house, and friends and family started asking me questions about it. So I really wanted to help them too, because I feel it really has impacted my mindset and how I look at things. And I want to help people change their lives as well as mine. So Feng Shui, I probably had a more traditional careers prior to Feng Shui. So I started off at university as a scientist, and I did science for around 11 years, and then moved into law enforcement. So I was a police officer. Again, for more than a decade and a half, and got a bit stuck during COVID, moved house, and that's what led me to delve a bit deeper into to Feng Shui, because I followed basic principles beforehand, the BTB, map over your front door.
Same.
And then as I got a bit stuck last year, I delved a bit deeper into the flying stars and learned a bit more about that. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed it. It made me really happy, and I just want to share that with lots of other people. So that's what's brought me to where I am today. So I'm quite early in my journey in becoming a Feng Shui consultant and doing that for others and creating my own business. So I've never had my own business before. So that's quite new to me. So there is lots of learning going on at the moment. So I'm so grateful to you for inviting me on to your podcast.
Wow. And I thought I had a circuitous journey to come to Feng Shui. Mine started with a kind of dabbling, you kind of hear about it and you think, oh, well, I'll just declutter and that's Feng Shui, and, close the toilet lid and that's Feng Shui. But yeah, when I started by getting a book again, so BTB, for those who are not immersed in the whole Feng Shui realm, stands for Black Hat Tantric Buddhist, and it's a more westernized version of Feng Shui, where the Bagua map, which looks like a tic-tac-toe grid, there's only one way that that side of things gets oriented, and so it goes just over the front door, so it doesn't matter what direction it's facing. And I also started practicing that, and I did that for 14 years, because I got it at the end of a breast cancer experience, and as a way to help my house, heal me. And honestly, it really did, because in the roundabout way, my intention was to focus on finding other modalities to help me recover from all of the chemo treatments. I had 8 of those. I had, a couple of surgeries to get clean margins. I had 33 radiation treatments. I, was ready to throw the kitchen sink at whatever it took to get me feeling back to some semblance of normal. And working with Feng Shui helped me find that. And so, yeah, it was really an interesting process. But so what was the trigger for you, really, that made you go, this simplified version just isn't cutting it. I need to learn something different. What was the instigating factor for you?
So going back a little step there, Beverly, it's really interesting because we genuinely did just meet yesterday on Instagram, and I also had breast cancer 7 years ago.
Oh,
So we didn't know this. Each of us didn't
oh,
know this before we came on this podcast. But yeah, 7 years ago, just February past, I had breast cancer as well and had surgery, chemo, radiotherapy. So I can absolutely relate to your journey, and everybody's is different, and I completely
mhm.
understand that. Um, but yeah, so I just wanted to throw that in there. So I think we're really quite connected in the kind of people we are. So I think this is one of the things with Feng Shui. It just throws people together, and the journey is really interesting. So we probably have quite a lot in common. So for me, delving deeper into the Feng Shui came after that journey. So I came through that treatment, took a number of years to kind of build myself back up, and it was probably more so through my career in the police. I got quite stuck there and quite frustrated, and a couple of failed promotions.
Mm,
It's quite tricky the way that it works in the police. So there was a couple of promotion processes that I'd gone through and didn't succeed, and it was quite tricky after all my treatment, going through that and trying to get back to normal. And I moved house after my treatment as well. I had tried other things. I tried changing my bed, changing my mattress, all those kind of things, and none of that really worked for me. So I moved house. But then when I moved house, it's a beautiful, beautiful house, but just that feeling of your house supporting you, I didn't feel I had that in this house. So that's what led me to delve deeper into feng shui and a different style of feng shui. And I feel that it is more accurate and it does support me more. I definitely feel the difference in the last year. And the way that I describe it to some friends is it's like if you meet up with a friend and there's something just a little bit off, that you know your friend really well and they're just not quite right, and you know just by being with them, oh, are you okay, is there something going on for you? And that with feng shui you get that feeling with your house, you just know that
mhm.
something's just not quite right. So that's what made me delve deeper into the different kinds of feng shui and find one that suited me just a bit better as I evolved through that journey.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that description of talking to a friend because I mean, we all know that there are some friends that will just say, "Yes, I'm going to just dump everything. I'm going to share it." But then there's also some friends that are like, "I'm fine. I'm I'm fine." And they aren't willing to quite let go themselves, but as people who are more sensitive, I mean, first of all, I applaud you for how many years did you say you spent as a police officer in law enforcement?
um what year is this? 2025, 15 years.
Wow. As someone who is sensitive enough to understand that the house is speaking to her on an energetic level, um, how hard was that for you to be in that kind of conflict uh, filled environment? I mean, what was your job? Or again, when I think of police, here in America, everybody's carrying guns and getting shot and doing all that crazy stuff because it's America. How is that different than for you in Scotland? Because that's something that I'm very curious about.
I think policing is very different in Scotland to America. Our gun crime is extremely low. I think one of the lowest. The murder rate in Scotland is at like 40 people per year. It's really low in comparison to America. So the policing style is really different. It is more engaging, and I mean, I have policed in different senses, but you have to have well, for me, the kind of mindset that I have is that I'm helping people. So I'm helping
Mm.
people in really difficult situations, whether that be helping children in the situation that they're in or helping people in situations of domestic violence. So for me, I have to see it the way that I am trying my best to make their lives better and doing what I can to make their lives better. And then that means removing harm from their lives.
And that follows on perfectly with why feng shui appealed to you because you are still removing harm from lives and helping people live their best life by making sure they're supported. Oh, I love it. I totally see the synergy there. Um, And again, tell me more about the science that you used to practice, that you trained for. What was that?
Uh, so science, it was pharmaceuticals, so it was interestingly medicines that people take when they are sick. So some of the treatments used in cancers were medicines that I had tested during my time as a scientist. So it all leads in really interestingly, and you would never think that science is like policing, but actually the synergies in that are immense as well. Talking about curiosity, science is about how things work and figuring that out. And so if people are ill, and how we can make them better, how we can treat illnesses. So it's about investigations into the medication, and that extrapolates and using standard operating procedures and things like that. And that extrapolates right out to policing, where they have standard operating procedures, and in the lab you're investigating if an experiment's gone wrong, but in policing you're investigating a crime. So the synergies there are huge as well, and you're helping people in both areas. So you might not think they're that similar, but actually there is a golden thread that flows through them all.
You are, wow, you are like blowing my mind. I love that. And there's a total golden thread going in straight into Feng Shui, because again, that's what we do. We walk in, we analyze what's going on, we look for the patterns, or and how that's impacting the mindset, and help solve the crime of why somebody's not getting a promotion, or why the relationship is feeling stuck, or why their money just keeps leaking away. Oh my goodness. I knew there was another big reason why I just was so drawn to you. I have a feeling we could sit and talk for hours, so I'll have to um, I'll have to try to rein myself in. Um, so let's talk a little bit more about uh, how was curiosity treated when you were a little girl, when you were growing up?
So this is a tricky one, trying to think back of when I was growing up. I was always a curious kid, always that kid who asked why. And I think my parents tried their best to answer me when they could. And I do have some specific memories from when I was little. We'd go to a local jumble sale, for example, and I would buy an encyclopedia, and I taught myself the alphabet and sign language. That's the kind of kid I was. So I think my parents just, I suppose they did support me and helped me, just giving me books and things, and I was the oldest in my family, so I
Out
was
of how many
most.
kids? How
So there's
many?
only me and my brother, but I have lots and lots of cousins, and my parents have lots of brothers and sisters. So we were a big family that would get together at the weekend. So I was probably treated more as an adult, so not really on that child level, probably more in the adult conversation. So I probably learned maybe a bit faster because I was more in the adult company. But yeah, I think they definitely humoured me and let me get my different books, and I think they were puzzled by me a lot of the time, I'm sure, but I'm sure they're also very proud of me.
Oh, I'm sure they are. How could they not be? So what's the age difference between you and your brother?
3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'm the youngest of eight, so there's a
Oh, goodness.
16-year gap between myself and my oldest brother. And I have twin brothers that are 3.5 years older than me, and then the next is only 18 months older than the twins. So mom was pretty busy with them, and then the four above them, and so I always joke that I felt like I was an only child. I just happened to have the benefit of siblings who always like to tell me what to do, which probably is why I am one of the more rebellious of the group. That's just how I'm built. Um, so so this house that you're in right now, this was the house that made you go, this black hat, the BTB system isn't working. Is that what made you go into flying, or start looking at flying stars?
Yeah, I think as well when I started, like, so it was it was a mixture of things, money coming in and going out, promotions not happening. I just felt like there was lots of things in my life that were stuck. Um, and it was definitely on the move to this house, but I moved to this house after being sick in the other house, and I didn't really want to stay there anymore. So it was definitely a mixture of things that led me to look in further at I suppose as well, when I did look into it and start, and it was on Instagram, kind of finding things on Instagram and following a bit more detail, and I bought myself a couple of books and read them and read up on it all. And then it probably reminded me that I've probably let my feng shui lapse a bit, and I hadn't been doing all the things that I had been doing before. So I don't know if that was COVID or just kind of life changes. I'm not really sure. But as I started to implement the analysis and declutter and start doing all of that, I realised that I'd actually stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing routinely in my previous house. I certainly had a lot more clutter in this house than I ever had in my previous house. So just working through my wardrobe and getting rid of old uniform and things like that. So it kind of reaffirmed Feng Shui as a whole, but then just went that little bit deeper, and I just feel that bit more supported now.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, what finally made me go, I think I need to, same thing, go a little deeper. So, again, for those who are listening or watching, the Bagua map on the westernized version, at the bottom of that, there are three. I can count. Three boxes, and there's on the left is the skills and knowledge sector. In the middle is the career and life path sector, and on the right is the helpful people and travel sector. Now, there are no directions associated with any of those in the westernized version. And again, for 14 years, just by working with the intention of, hey, if I'm putting something in this part of the house, this is going to help this part of my life improve. But in the classical tradition, that center section, the career and life path section, is associated with the north, and it's associated with the water element. Well, I had a south facing house. So, Mandy, you're going to go, holy crap, what'd you do? I decided, because hey, I'm following a good little girl. I'm doing those rules. I'm a Virgo. So, it's like, I like my systems. I like rules. I like a structure, and I want to do everything perfect. So I painted my front door a very dark blue. The south sector in classical feng shui is a fire element. It's the fame and reputation sector. And as soon as I painted that front door a dark blue, a big watery element in the fire sector of the house, it just seemed like all the efforts that I was trying to make would just evaporate. My husband also was having some challenges at work. He actually was trying to run for school board. Excellent campaign, just support disappeared. My kids struggling on so many different emotional levels. We'd make some progress, it would just turn to steam. And this was already after I had taken several in-person training courses on this. And one of my friends called me and it's like, hey, you need to paint that door red. Your house is telling me that it wants that door red. And I'm fought and like, fine. Going to prove you wrong because we trained this way, and I'm going to paint my door red. Okay, crap. All right. All of these really positive things started happening because the south sector goes with the fame and reputation. It's being able to speak your truth, being able to ask for what you want, having people talk about you in nice ways when you're not around. And my husband got a promotion. My daughter got a scholarship, over, a really great scholarship. My son finally got some assistance that he was been needing. My feng shui practice just absolutely exploded in all the best ways. And so it's like, okay, well then, I guess I have to go learn classical. So just like you, your house said, yeah, okay, that's a good start. Patting you on the head. It's like, that's very good, honey. Now go get the real work done.
Exactly that, and it's had an impact on my daughter as well. There's when I had the full analysis done, there was a bit that came up with legal issues, and she had an
Mm,
issue with one of her exams at university, and she was so upset by it. And I put the analysis in and put the metal into that area to try and remedy that. And her exam results, since she has been getting merits and amazing results, she's just doing so well. So I think as well, you'll do anything to support your family, won't you? So
absolutely.
knowing that I'm supporting my daughter and helping her is amazing as well.
Does she live with you or is
She
she
does.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that's yeah, because one of the things that again, my children were pretty little when I was diagnosed with cancer. And so, that they really grew up seeing me kind of go through some health stuff and then come out on the other side and just again kitchen sink stuff. It really got me into trying a lot of alternative health pieces, which I'm very grateful for because again, it's been 23 years, so I think I'm doing pretty good. Um, with the one thing I really wanted to also kind of point out for those who are unfamiliar, that the flying star piece. Um, so the flying stars themselves are associated with the different stars that are part of the Big Dipper constellation. And so there are seven of those stars that are visible to the naked eye, but then at the very handle part, there are two stars that are not visible to the naked eye. And so as the seasons change in the constellation, it actually changes, you can see like, well, where's the dipper? Is it like right here? Is it right here? Is it, how's that working? Um, and so every month or every year, the stars, this energy shifts. And that's why last year we were in the Yangwood dragon year. This year we're the Yinwood snake year. Next year it's going to be the uh, Yang fire horse year. Oh boy, etc. And so that's how that changes. But that means that there's a different influence in each of those 9 sectors as it's moving around. So are you one of those that, because I know there are some consultants who really find that every month they need to change their enhancements to coordinate, to go along with the energy of how the month's flying stars are moving. Do you do that? Do you follow that protocol?
Probably not so much monthly, certainly annually.
Mhm.
So just well, earlier in February there, I changed the annual. Monthly, not so much. We just try and keep on top of everything for the year. I mean, if there is anything that doesn't feel quite right, that perhaps a remedy is not quite what you'd hoped it would bring, we can look at that and see if the monthly energy is changing that. But we would say it would settle generally for the year, and we can make minor amendments if it's not quite working. But we don't tend to change everything monthly.
That's kind of how I practice too. I
Okay.
mean, there's being observant, and then
Mhm.
there's being neurotic.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about like any challenges, anything that you're currently dealing with that you'd like to just chat about and see how our curiosity, how our brainstorming can solve world problems.
Uh-huh. So I love a challenge and I love a project, which is probably why I've ended up with so many careers so far. And I love physical challenges as well. So at the moment, I'm training for Paris Marathon. So I have 3 long runs left to go, and then we'll be running Paris Marathon in April. I suppose career wise, my current challenge is setting up my new business because it's all new to me. Obviously, I've learned a lot about flying stars, feng shui, and about becoming a consultant, but the whole starting up your own business and the social media side of things, I did toy with a home account on Instagram during COVID. I think lots of
What
people
did you
did.
say it was?
A home account, so like home
Oh,
improvements DIY. I think lots of people did that during COVID. So I did that during COVID and built up a bit, but it's quite different when you have quite a niche area like feng shui. It's quite different to the home improvement. Because the home improvement is just reflecting on the differences of that. The home improvement, you're going out to the local store and a £30 B&M haul or £30 Target haul or whatever that is. Whereas we're doing quite the opposite. We're clearing things out that we don't need, and it's much more intentional. So it's just the differences in that and the nuances. So I'm learning, learning how to create a new business, create a website, social media strategies. It's quite a lot, but it's really interesting, and I'm loving doing it and loving meeting the people that I am meeting through the process.
That's wonderful. Yeah, no, it is hard. I had 7 years working for Procter and Gamble right after I went to college, and I really enjoyed my time in corporate because, again, the consistent paycheck is a beautiful thing. Um, and it felt very constricting, and it didn't really prepare me for what it takes to run your own business. And so there are resources. And here in America, we have I forget what the acronym is for, but it's like a small business council, SCORE, SCORE. I don't know if they have anything like that in Scotland. I can take a look after we finish this, but there's got to be something like that that could help. Just looking at just how to set up the finances, how to do some of the advertising, and that's good. Networking in groups for people who are undergoing transitions are always very good places to start. I don't always want to just talk to people who are getting divorced, but if you talk to people who are, helping people change homes or change apartments, that's, I'm sure, a great way to that you'll be able to find some more sources there. But yeah, sometimes you spend a lot of time educating before you can actually make that connection. Because again, what we do is very intimate. And you strike me as someone who engenders trust very quickly. That's why you were probably an excellent law enforcement officer, because they knew they could trust you, and you knew how to handle difficult situations. So, yeah, so that's amazing, though. Setting your goal to the Paris Marathon. Have you ever run a marathon before?
I have. So I've run 4 so far. So this will be my 5th and probably my last one because it does take up a lot of time. But yeah.
Yeah, I have been spending the past year and a half working to build bone density back. Again, 23 years of no added hormones made for some fairly weak bones. So I've been doing a lot more weightlifting. So I've been working on strengthening myself. So it's very important for people who are doing these kind of energy-based businesses to focus on the physical health, because we move a lot of energy through our bodies and we need to stay strong. So the other question that I like to talk to my podcast guests about is like what they call the Phoenix moment. You mentioned the breast cancer process that you had to go through. Is there another situation where that like rising from the ashes moment that really helped give you that, um, uh, when you look back, you kind of go, oh wow, yeah, I made it through some stuff.
So, I really think that this is a cyclic thing that we do this more than once. Yeah, so I feel that I had a little bit of a challenge in childhood. We didn't have much when I was young. So even just getting to university and getting my degree and becoming a scientist was just an unbelievable achievement. So for me, that was absolutely a phoenix rising moment. Um, and being a scientist and being a mum, and it was really hard work. It was long hours and competing demands between work and kids, and trying to find that balance was part of the reason. And for a challenge and a project, which I quite like, it was part of the reason that I moved on to policing. And then even then, I was in my 30s when I joined policing. So doing that with 2 young kids, again, is another. So I'm going back to the bottom and working my way back up again. So it's another moment rising for me. Coming through my treatment, my goodness, that was just something else. it is a, you know yourself, it's a really, really scary time. And to come through that and to be able to run is just, I'm so grateful for every day that I can get out running, and to be able to do all these things. And you become so grateful for all the things that come. Um, this past year has been amazing for my eldest daughter. She's moved out and got her first house. She got engaged. She graduated and got her first job as a nurse, and being able to see all of that is just amazing. And so grateful for all of that. And then even now, in the situation that I'm in with my feng shui and field promotions and things, I really feel that this year is going to be a really good year, and it is going to be a Phoenix Rising year. And with a feng shui, I've actually got my Phoenix Rising for my south of my so last year I set some goals, and I've reflected on those goals from last year, and they're pretty low level. So I'm actually really going to take that up a notch this year. And I'm aiming for the stars this year for my goals, I think. So I will be keeping my Rising Phoenix in my south area. With my goals and aspirations on the back, and they're going to be big and bold. I am going to be braver this year,
I
step out
love
my
it.
comfort zone.
One of the things that I like to do, encourage my clients to do, is to get a red envelope. I like just ordering some of those Chinese red envelopes, that they have for the new year, and then I have them write they're basically the recipe for whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, as if they've already received them, and I have them put that in the red envelope in the South, to help just make sure that coordinates with the energy. Now, so is your youngest still living at home, or is your
She is.
youngest okay? Oh,
My
she's the one
youngest
that's
is the
at
one that's at
university.
uni. Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. Well, that's very cool. Oh, I love that you've already got your Phoenix going. Um, yeah. So I was curious. So tell me, which you said you read a bunch of books. Has there been one of the authors and teachers that you've resonated with the most?
Do you know, I actually can't remember. That's terrible. I actually can't remember the authors of the books, but there's two books. One's a general flying stars feng shui, and the other one's specifically about period 9. So that's the two. And there's so much information in those books. I have read them, but I think you could read them 3 or 4 times and still be learning from those books. There's just so
Yes.
much information. It is, and I don't think people appreciate just quite how complex it is. Um, there's a lot goes into it. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. I'll definitely need to read them at least once or twice.
Yeah, um so when I was studying Black Hat, I actually worked with, let's see, one, two, three, four, five different instructors with Black Hat, including Master Lin Yun, who was the gentleman from Taiwan who settled in California and really popularized it in the U.S. I got to go with the same friend who told me your house wants you to paint your front door red. She and I we met up in Boston and attended one of those seminars with. It was I think one of the last ones that he ever taught before he passed, and so the purser who took over, she then taught part of it. The And that was an odd one. That was one that they really talked a lot about very obscure, esoteric cures. And I just remember one of them had to do with I guess one of those big square fence posts that you would pound into the front of your house, and then you were supposed to hang a walk that had a well-used walk with a blackened bottom, facing the road to keep negative energy coming your way. And I'm like, that is never going to fly with an American HOA. And number two, that sounds really ugly.
Mm.
I
I've
don't,
never heard of that before.
that's what I'm saying. Nobody outside of maybe very, I don't know who would do that, but certainly nobody that I know of. I wouldn't recommend that, only because I tend to look at how is it going to work aesthetically. Um, are Tell me, how are you approaching using a lot of the things like the Wu Lao gourds, the coins, and some of the more traditional cures like the arawak fish or the three-toed frog or all that stuff. What is your philosophy on that?
So I did actually have one of the toads, but I recently gave that away. So I am trying to, so I had that for, almost 20 years. But I am trying to be, I suppose, more intentional with this. So it's more what resonates with me and with the person. So if a Chinese trinket or Feng Shui trinket does not resonate with them, then it's probably not something that's going to help them achieve what it is that they want to achieve. So if a frog is not going to resonate with you, and I got myself quite caught up with this toad or frog. What direction should it chase? Should it face? Should it face the front door? Should it face in? And where was the best place for it? And I got so tied up in these little details that I thought, does it even resonate with me? And it probably doesn't. I actually prefer crystals, so I would much rather have lots of crystals
Ooh, tell me
that are
more about
quite
your,
pretty.
how are you using your crystals? Because I love a good rock.
Oh, so I love
I've been
crystals.
holding on to my selenite, just like, oh,
So I have some amethyst with me. So
nice.
yeah, I have selenite and tourmaline everywhere in my car, at the entrance to my front of my home, in my hallway, the center of my home. I have some clear quartz, some nice healing energy, and I also have some rose quartz for self-love.
Ooh.
Not just physical, also mental, so it supports yourself as well, and a bit of comfort for yourself. And actually, we're talking about my daughter in her studies. She has some amethyst in her room to help her with her focus and her concentration, and also with her sleep. So I have crystals dotted about. I also have a little wealth bowl of crystals. So I have a crystal wealth bowl, and I have another wealth bowl. So my crystal one has like pyrite, tiger's eye, citrine. Yeah, I'm not sure if it has jade in it or not. I need to check that. And then I have a separate one that has euros in it because I want to travel. So it might have plane tickets or whatever abundance, wealth and prosperity looks like to you, you have in that bowl. So I have what that is for me. But when I'm speaking to other people, I would say you should have what that is for you, because it's different things for different people. So for me, wealth, prosperity, and abundance is spending time with my family. Going on holidays with my family would be the best. So that's what that is for me. But for other people, it might be a car, or it might be a promotion, or it could be different things. So they should put in their wealth bowl what resonates with them. So I'm very much for, you should do what resonates with you. And if these things do resonate with you, then by all means use them. But I don't claim to be an expert on them at all. I think you should use what works for you.
Where are you putting your wealth bowls? Because I know people are going to be listening to this and going, wealth bowl? I want wealth. Where would you tell them to put their wealth bowls?
In the southeast of your home. So it will not surprise you to know that my home's layout is a little bit tricky, with an integral garage, and I have lots of extra areas. So I have 2 east areas, 2 southeasts, upstairs and downstairs, 2 norths. So I have quite a lot of duplicate areas. So downstairs, because I have the 2 southeast areas, I have one wealth bowl in each. One's crystal one, and with the crystals, I set my intentions with the crystals as well. And then in the other one, I have things like euros and
Okay.
travel documents and things. So in the southeast of your home, and it depends on what room it is you have. So mine's is my kitchen. You want to think about where you want to put that. You might not want to put it in a bedroom, because that should be a yin room for relaxing and sleeping. So you might not want to put a wealth bowl in there. So it depends on the layout of your house and where that area lands in your house, where would be best to put it.
You raised a very good point about the bedroom. Bedrooms can be very tricky for some people. If you're having to share space, sometimes that's the only place for you to get privacy and to have your own TV in there. But I really, really, really don't like electronics in a bedroom. So I know what I recommend, but what do you recommend when you see a TV in a bedroom?
So I recommend no TVs in the bedroom. We did actually have a telephone in my bedroom, and I snuck it out when my husband wasn't looking, because I don't think we need a telephone in the bedroom. We don't need one in there. There's TV downstairs. You can go downstairs, and people only use that if it's an emergency. So I'm all for no electronics in the bedroom. So it's a yin room for relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If so, in America, people are obviously way too attached to their TVs. But if they cannot go without it, I just tell them, okay, just unplug it
Mhm.
before you go to bed at night. Just unplug it. You can plug it back in the morning and it'll be just fine. In my personal ideal world, I wouldn't even have my router on at night, but I am overruled on that because, yeah.
Me too.
Um, yeah. Um, so, what are some of who are your favorite clients to work with?
Who are my favorite? That's a really good question. Um, I'm not really sure. I think people who are open to um, ways of doing things, open to new ideas and experiences. Um, but I think they wouldn't be coming to you if they weren't open. So um, I think people who are friendly, genuinely nice, and I suppose probably share similar values to me.
Yeah, I can see that. I personally have found that part of the reason why I even named this podcast the Curiosity Solution is that anytime I've found myself drawn to either a person or a job, I've had quite a wide variety of jobs that I've done, but um, or a subject matter, it's because there's an energy in it that I feel like either it's going to benefit me or somehow I'm going to benefit that. And again, I'm not always being altruistic and saying, yeah, I'm just coming in to, save the day or whatever. But the bottom line is it's always been curiosity. And so for me, definitely it is a curious person, someone who is understands that they don't know everything
Yeah.
and they're willing to learn and they're willing to be wrong about certain things. Like sometimes, I mean, I've certainly had people who have clients who have gone, oh no, we can't move that couch this way. Oh wait, you move that oh, I really like the couch that way. And yeah, so that's good. What kind of so you said, just getting back to the stones, you talked about your amethyst there. Um, one of the things that I did early on in all of this, when I started really learning more about crystals, I found little amethyst hearts, and I got one for all of the four of us, and we did this little heart ceremony where we put our love into each of our stones, and then we passed it around, and so everybody got that in their the love stuck in there, and then we just said, okay, now this is ours. This is this contains this love and support forever for all of us, and that's literally been 20 years ago. And
Wow.
as many times as both of my kids have moved, they still have that stone.
That's
And
lovely.
I didn't even know why I chose amethyst, but I mostly because I just like purple. Um, so what is one of your other goals once you complete your marathon? What is the next goal for Ms. Mandy?
That's a very good question. I think to get this business up and running and be helping many people, that's what I'd really like to be doing this year.
Okay. So that's the marathon is done in April. So you will be able to kind of take a deep breath and get going on that. And let's just go ahead and say June. We'll give you a month to kind of get yourself healed back up, because I imagine that's a pretty strenuous thing. Is it early April or is it late April?
It's the 13th of April, so mid-April.
Mid. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to not let you off the hook that much. It's going to be mid-May. Come on, we'll be touching base on that. Well, Mandy, did you have anything else that you would like to share with us? Anything that has been percolating in the back of your head throughout this conversation?
I don't think so. I just wanted to say thank you so much again for having me on and sharing your story with me. And yeah, the amount of similarities has been absolutely astounding, and well done to you as well. 23 years on, that gives me hope and inspiration as well, which is just lovely. And thank you for sharing your knowledge and information on Flying Stars Feng Shui as well. I really appreciate that. And I hope to speak to you again in future.
I know we will. I have no doubt about that. Oh, I do have one other question. Have you started delving into the Chinese astrology, the Bazi? I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but Bazi.
I haven't yet. Is that something you would recommend?
Once you really feel like you've got your feet grounded in flying stars, because once you begin to understand um, the Chinese astrology, you'll be able to recommend a little bit more, like line things up for your clients. Um, but yeah, I personally have gotten a lot of good following Joey Yap. He actually is teaching in fact, we should probably talk offline about this. There's going to be another class of his in January of next year in Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, wow.
I got to go there in September of 2019, so I got a bunch of traveling done before the world shut down. In fact, it was earlier that month in September, over the first of the month, that I was in Edinburgh, where you are, and then later that month I went to KL. There is absolutely nothing like being in a huge conference room with like literally 20,000 people, all focused on learning feng shui. And his way of explaining things is he does a really good job of translating it translating these ancient um, philosophies into today's language. That's been he's been my favorite. I've tried a few of the others. They haven't made it as they haven't been as clear in anchoring in their concepts into my brain. But that's why I love that there's so many different teachers out there, that everybody gets to choose who resonates with them. So yeah, we'll talk later. So Mandy, what I'd like you to do is, how would people contact you if they wanted to get a consultation from you in Scotland?
So they can contact me through my Instagram page, the Feng Shui Edit. So I'm there if anybody needs any help in Scotland and beyond.
Scotland and beyond. Yes. Okay. Well, I will put those in that information in the show notes, so they can find you there. And then as you get more out there, and I'll make sure I share your content, and we'll just get you going. That is how we work, because the more people who have a supportive home, the better we'll all be able to roll with all of the changes that the snake year is bringing.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you very much. And look forward to chatting more soon. It's